have you learned? I was programmed to beat you. Mistakes. I was programmed to beat you.
Okay, I think we're okay now. Right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everything in between. And welcome to the FRLT 4's Lobby 2. You can see in the bottom corner of your screens there that I've got Lobby 1 going on in the meantime. There's a very specific reason for that. It's a very exciting race. And it has just come to its conclusion. So the perfect timing for this evening's action. Switching your focus back to the main screen, we've got drivers within the 119s. Geekin, Thomas, McTimmy and Tropic. Koopsik. I'm going to ask him how to say that, but Koopsik in 5th, Poison Death in 7th. No, Poison Death in 6th, Koopsik in 5th and Quick Luca in 7th. But you can see it was a very exciting race if you're joining me from there. Hello, but Giovanni Galotto taking victory just about ahead of Bushy Bush in 2nd place after some incredible fighting. Adam Spalding down in 6th, but he did not deserve to be down there. And yeah, certainly an incredible race. And if you missed it, you certainly well missed out on all the action. But it's all good because we've got more action for you tonight, and I'm sure it's going to be as exciting as the first lobby was. So far, Geekin setting the pace, Rain in 2nd place. Full Bicycle is on a lap. We're going to have a look at his time as he comes round the final corner. Parabolica. Is it a good representative lap time? It is going to be. It's going to be a 119.3. It's the best type of representative lap time. It's a pole position lap time for Full Bicycle. And altogether, an incredible start. An incredible way of beginning his evening's action. Just get rid of that now, because that race is over. But yes, that was an incredible race. Rain has invalidated, but I think he was on his in lap anyway. Tropic F1 is out on his out lap. Four bicycles in on his in lap. Razagamer is out for his first lap. And we've got 3 drivers who I believe are serving qualifying bans here. That's Marimaro, Penguin, and Niall Gio. So, but they're all very quick drivers. They have to be to compete in this series. And so we should get an entertaining battle. All of the drivers should be quite close together in the pack. Because there have been many, many races where drivers are very, very close. That was demonstrated, actually, in the last race. I keep referring back to it, but incredible action right at the death with all the drivers who were right next to each other all the way to the end. But we're going to go round the final corner on board with Tropic F1 YT. And we're going to watch on board a lap of the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. So it's a long, long main straight. Then it's the first Variante where you have to brake incredibly hard, get the turn in, riding all of the curbs, and then getting the power down on the exit perfectly. It sounds easier said than done because it's certainly not easy. It's one of the most feared first corners on the calendar. Then you go around Curva Grande before arriving at Variante della Roggia. Again, riding the curbing, you have to take as much curbing as you physically can through there. Then there's the 2 Lesmos. There's Lesmos 1, and then Lesmos 2 is just up here before coming out on the second straight. This would be the second dose of DRS on the lap. The first one is down the main straight, leading you on to Variante Ascari, which is another corner where you have to take the curbs to have any real good lap time. And it's another place where you have an incredible possibility of spinning. Then it's another straight. This one you don't get DRS on, but the DRS detection zone for the main straight is just before the final corner, which is Parabolica. You want to start wide, then turn in, then end up wide, and then come to the line with a 119.5, just like Tropic F1 has, and that puts him in 4th place. Razagamer is going to be the next one across the line, followed quickly by his teammate who is on his outlap. And Razagamer sets a time of 120.1. That's going to be jumping ahead of his teammate and Quick Luca, who don't particularly have representative lap times. But we do have tonight the main cars, as Poison Death demonstrates perfectly why Turn 1 is so difficult. Because a slide like that. Koopsik goes 7th. George Plaster goes into the 118 to 118.932, and Thomas just following behind with a 119.0. Times are falling. And we've got some very, very competitive runs. Quick Luca's a second up on his time. Who's that across the line? That's Timmy. He's not improved. Somebody coming into the pits, I think, a Mercedes. That is a Mercedes. Who's the other Mercedes? Oh, it's Geekim, who's coming into the pits. Quick Luca around the final corner. What sort of lap is this going to be? It's going to be a 119.9. He goes into 9th place. It's not too terrible. It could be worse. And you have to be at the very, very barest minimum in the 119s for anything. Indeed it has. Oh, no, it hasn't. We are back. Okay, good. We are continuing on, and we've got lots of drivers setting times now. Rain going into the 119.0s. McTimmy has invalidated his lap. That's a Ferrari on the main straight. Thomas, who's coming in. A little bit early to prepare for final runs, but Full Bicycle's on his in lap. Or his out lap, sorry. Quick Luca's on his in lap is what I meant to say. And they're just all preparing for their final runs. I think, yeah, Dawid Cooper 6 not on a lap. Rain's not on a lap because he's just pushed. And he's pushed Thomas hard into the 119.0s. With George Plaster the only driver in the 118s. I feel like a lot of the drivers are going to wait a few laps. Full Bicycle has come out on his lap. He's going to try and take advantage of the empty track ahead of him. Just trying to refer people to this stream and to this lobby. Where are we? We're here. Niall in the chat, hello. You will be starting from the back of the grid. I think you're at the very back as well, because I think the other two left or did their runs after you did. I don't really 100% know how it works, but that's my understanding. Full Bicycle with a purple second sector. This is going to be a strong time, because he's throwing the car just through there. He has thrown the car, kept it just about within track limits. And that's the sort of thing you have to do in this lobby, especially, or in this league, to keep up, because there are a lot of very fast drivers. And Full Bicycle with a 119.2. I'd be incredibly happy with that lap, probably in time trial. But he ends up down in 4th position. You reckon it's driving up? I don't know, to be honest with you. There's no way of seeing. We'll find out as we get to the race. But Tropic F1 probably on his final run. Full Bicycle is coming in. He's going to try and prepare for a final run. Poison Death's on his outlap. This will be his final run. And everybody else will come spilling out of the pits in the next minute or so to set their final times. George Plaster at the moment edges out pole position at 118.9. Thomas and Rain just a 10th behind. Full Bicycle 2 tenths behind them, and McTimmy 1.5 tenths behind him. Geekin a 10th behind McTimmy. Tropic F1 just marginally behind Geekin. David Kupasic. I think it's Kupasic. That's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to ask him. If I can find him, which I cannot. But Poison Death comes across the line to start his push lap. And yeah, as I said, all of these drivers are coming out. All of these drivers are coming out for their final runs. We've got Full Bicycle, who's just gone in. Tropic F1 and Poison Death, who are likely to just go in. Poison Death's not actually that much down this time. Tropic F1 is up, but then he went straight on after setting a 119.2. Which puts him into 4th place, but I don't think that will be enough yet. I really don't think that will be enough, because with the way these drivers have driven, with the way that George Plaster, Thomas and Rain absolutely obliterated their beginner laps. So Thomas cut 5 tenths off his, Rain cut 6 tenths off of his. There is time to be found. And these drivers are very, very capable of finding that time. Geekin is one of those who we've seen a lot of pace from him. Hopefully, we're going to see even more pace from him tonight. Just trying to find him in the championship. We've got the Fours championship. Oh, I need to memorize all the leagues. I haven't done that yet. Purple first sector for Geekin. Strong. And he's going to come up to the second sector split time with another purple sector. So it's checkered flag has come out. And two of these drivers, Tropic F1 and Full Bicycle, will not be setting another times. Their 119.2s are their representative lap times. Geekin went purple in the first. He went purple in the second. Is he going to go purple? Is he going to go into the lead overall? No, he's not. He comes across the line in fourth position. Thomas retires from the session. He will not be participating any further. Quick Luke is into the pits. There's a Ferrari that's gone round. I think that is Thomas. I think he has crashed before setting his time. David Kupsic is improving, but not by enough to jump his time. Poison Death has invalidated his lap. Razagamer's round the final corner. He's going to try to set a time good enough for the top 10, and indeed he does. He's in 9th. Rain will be the last driver across the line. He's improving by 4 thousandths, and he is down on his time. 4 tenths is what he lost in that final corner, or that final sector, sorry. And he will take 3rd place in the Grand Prix. We're just waiting for confirmation, and there it is. George Plaster taking pole position. Thomas, the 10th behind in 2nd. Rain in 3rd. Geekin jumping up in 4th. I think he was the only one to really improve on that final lap, although Razagamer also went up into 9th. But Geekin in 4th. Tropic in 5th. Full Bicycle in 6th. McTimmy in 7th. David Kupasic in 8th. Razagamer in 9th. Quick Luca in 10th. Poison Death in 11th. The final qualifier. Amare Moreau, Penguin, and Niall Gio round out the grid. I'm just asking, how do I pronounce David? What's his name? Kupasic. How do I pronounce David's name? There we go. But something that could be a gamble is going on lower wings, because the lower wings you get, the quicker you are down the straight. But obviously the lower wings you are, the more you struggle through the corners. And so that's something that the drivers will have to contend with, because this is a very straight, heavy track. But the corners, the likes of Ascari, the likes of Lesmos, the likes of, well, turn 1 and 2 were horrible for that sort of thing. I'm going to take this moment to tell you about our new sponsor, who you may have seen in the top right corner of your screen, Rogue Energy. Now, I don't know too much about how we are connected with Rogue Energy, but I know for a fact that we are partnered with them. I'm just trying to find the information now. My sincerest apologies. Either this, or maybe I'm trying to kill time. Maybe I know who they are. I do know who they are, but anyway, I think we've got an affiliate code. So if you want a new energy drink, any of these, for sponsoring us. And anyway, straight back to the action we go. Just looking at the tyres that everybody's on, we've got medium runners apart from Razagamer, Poison Death, and Niall Gio, who's starting from the back of the grid. He will be trying to go long on those tyres. And it'll be interesting to see how that strategy plays out. It's the alternative strategy as opposed to everybody else who's gone for the mediums, or everybody else around that area who has gone for the mediums. And, well, yeah, he's an incredibly quick driver. He can make those tyres last, and he will try as hard as he can to make those tyres last over half the race, maybe even to the point where he can use soft compound tyres. And then he'll be dangerous. And I think a lot of them are banking on that. There's also, there could be a safety car at some point in this race. You get those a lot in league racing. But today, especially around Monza, you pretty much expect them. Turn 1 is always chaos. And I think if anybody goes onto the softs in the end, that's the reason for it. But we're going to go to the 5 lights for the Italian Grand Prix. It's lights and it's action. We're away in Monza. George Plaster covers off Thomas at the start. He's trying to tuck into the slipstream. Rain is boxed in to the side. Thomas is going to look down the inside into turn 1. There's a double front lockup. And Rain is able to take that position back. Off of Thomas, that's a driver. Off of the track, that's a Mercedes of Geekin. But Plaster leads away. Thomas in second, Rain in third. Tropic F1 in fourth. He's coming under pressure from McTimmy, who's coming under pressure behind from Raza Gamer. And there's not contact behind. Almost contact. There is contact as Penguin goes round and the Mercedes start goes from bad to worse. Geekin dropped down to 10th. From 4th, he's battling to try and stay in that position as well, ahead of Quick Luca, who has actually lost the position and could be vulnerable to Niall Gio as well, who's gained 2 positions off of the start. And this is somebody to definitely keep an eye on, but not quite at the moment. He's not quite close enough to make that overtake stick. But George Plaster leads ahead of Thomas. Rain is looking to pressure into Parabolica and down the main straight. DRS will be available to the drivers on lap 2 of this Grand Prix. So not yet. We've passed the DRS detection zone, but we are not yet at the point where they can activate it. But that will come after Lesmos as we go round to... As that Rain looks down the inside, I got very distracted there for a second. But McTimmy and Tropic are side by side. McTimmy switching back to the inside line. He was ghosting there. Someone else who was ghosting as well was Niall Gio, who looks to have gotten past Quick Luca. And Luca looks like he's trying to fight back, possibly, but he just doesn't have that straight line speed. And so Gio is up into P11. He's gained 3 positions. And he's certainly looking to gain more. He's looking quick on those tyres that he's put on, those hard compound tyres. Raza Gamer also gained 4 places on the hards. And Poison Death has lost 2. But Raza Gamer and Niall Gio will be rubbing their hands together with glee at the fact that they've been able to make these advantages on the disadvantaged tyre. As Full Bicycle looks to the back of Tropic F1. There's contact between the two as he outbrakes himself. And they're going to come out onto the back straight, with Tropic trying to break the slipstream. Full Bicycle just behind, and Maramoro right behind him. All these drivers are ready to make a move. But will any of these drivers make a move? I don't think Thomas is close enough to George Plaster, which means that Rain could be fighting. Thomas forces him to the inside line and Rain just tucks back in. Plus, Thomas took a lot of curb heading through turn 1. Rain is close. He isn't close enough without DRS yet to make that overtake stick, because all of these drivers will have similar setups. They will have similar straight line speed, and it's just down to their cornering speed and the guts that they've got to take corners like Full Bicycle has just there. And he could be looking to the inside of Maramoro. He's backed out because Maramoro was looking a bit shaky off the exit of that corner. And then also he covered him off heading into the first Lesmo. But Geekin now has seized the opportunity. He's chasing Full Bicycle as Poison Death becomes the first driver to pick up a penalty. 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. But all these drivers are they're still in contention They're still in DRS, barring McTimmy, Dawid Kupasic, and Penguin and Poison Death, who's just dipped out of the DRS of Penguin. George Plaster, though, doesn't have DRS. Thomas is 2/10 closer to George Plaster. And he will have the DRS open as he heads down the main straight. He's going to look to the inside line. George Plaster is defenceless. And Thomas takes the lead of this Grand Prix. Plaster in second now. Rain looking to pressure him in third. And this could all go very wrong for the Red Bull driver. As they're heading down now, he's trying to pressure Thomas back. Could be looking for a move. But you can't go for a move here. Into Variante Alta. Or so I say, as Rain sends it to the inside. And he's up into P2 now. Where has that come from? I wasn't looking behind him. George Plaster certainly wasn't looking behind him. And Rain has taken the opportunity and he's up into P2. Could even be P1 by the end of this straight because Thomas does not have DRS. And we know he doesn't have the greatest straight line speed in the world. But Rain, although he's catching, hasn't quite caught up enough. This will be down the main straight for a move for Rain if he is going to make this stick. But George Plaster has the straight line speed on him. You can see the times are coming down minimally as they head down the back straight. And they're going to come round Parabolica to the main straight. And they will all have DRS, barring Thomas. This could be another switch for the lead. Rain closing. Thomas forcing him to the inside. And Rain goes through. Thomas drops down. George Plaster not close enough. So I think he was caught off guard by Rain there. And that's disappointing for him. Through goes Geekin in the meantime on Tropic F1, trying to make the overtake. But Full Bicycle hits him, which scuppers any opportunity. As Full Bicycle tried to take the racing line, Geekin tried to make a switchback stick on Tropic F1. And he's going to have to wait a couple more corners at the very minimum. Niall Gio and Dawid Kupasic looking to get past Full Bicycle, but Bicycle goes and absolutely sends it into that corner. But it's come to his detriment as round he goes at Variante Alta. And he is down into last place. Is it Variante Alta? No, it's Variante della Roggia. My apologies. As I was more focused on the action. But Penguin getting past Poison Death with DRS. Dawid Kupasic and Niall Gio very close to each other. Kupasic is on the softer compound of tyre, the mediums. Can you not hear me? You can hear me. Oh, he meant in the sponsorship. Okay. That's fine. Dawid Kupasic is closing on Niall Gio. There's a swap for the lead of the race. Thomas takes it back. And George Plaster looks like he's actually trying to get involved. We're going to watch as Kupasic gets past Gio. Quick Luca sends it down the inside and he gets past Niall Gio as well. So he's back in this battle, is the McLaren driver. And he's past Gio. Kupasic is past Gio as well. So he's lost 2 positions in the space of 2 corners. He won't be too disheartened though, because Kupasic is closing on Tropic F1. And all the drivers from 4th to 8th, they've got DRS. Now, DRS is incredibly useful. And it's exactly what Kupasic will be looking for, as he has a huge wobble. Quick Luca takes advantage. Jumps up into P9. Penguin becomes the first retirement of the session. And he calls out, in the meantime, the first safety car of this Italian Grand Prix. And it comes at a huge time for George Plaster. He was over a second behind. He was over a second behind the leaders. Now he's been able to close right back up. Are we going to have anybody come into the pits? Yes, we are. We're going to have Thomas, Rain and George Plaster, all of the top 3 coming into the pits. The benefit of using the normal cars is you know who is going to be in your pit box. Tropic F1 and Tropic F1 only stays out of the pit lane, as even the ones who were on the hard compound tyres, so Raza Gamer and Niall Gio and Poison Death, all come into the pits. And I think medium's a very, very bold call, but that's the call that Raza Gamer's made. And that's the call that Niall Gio's made as well, and Poison Death. So it looks like Rain is ahead with George Plaster in third in this provisional battle, because Tropic F1 has continued on those mediums. I'll be interested to see if this has scuppered the alternative strategy for Niall Gio, Razza Gamer, and to an extent Poison Death, although he was pretty much down and out, and this will actually bring him back into the race. But Razza Gamer and Niall Gio are on the mediums. They're on brand new mediums. They are hoping to get back. Well, they're pretty much hoping for a safety car now, or for something to go seriously wrong. But the drivers are ready. They're ready to get going. Most of them, at least. Poison Death and Full Bicycle haven't quite caught up with the grid yet. But at the moment, it's a Ferrari 1-2, Tropic F1 and Thomas in second place. I think that means that they're both in the same team. Just trying to find it now. This needs to be more organised, I think, this channel. But I can't find it. Yeah, Thomas and Tropic F1 are in the same team. They're in XPG. As McTimmy leaves the session, let's hope that he can get back in. But they're going to work together, because you've got Tropic in first place. You've got Thomas in second. And I think that's the only representatives. Oh, no, it's not, because McTimmy is also in this team. It is McTimmy. Okay. Just making sure. So, just to go over it. At the moment, XPG have 3 drivers. They're currently in first, second, and fifth. HDL have drivers in. George Plaster, who is P4. They've got Full Bicycle, who is last. Happy Miel, who is... I don't know. And Quickie, who is Quick Luca, who currently sits in P6. McTimmy's made it back into the session, and I think we'll be getting going at the conclusion of lap 8. Lap 9 will begin, and we'll be getting back to green flag racing. Indeed we will, and the safety car is going to be called in on this very lap 8. So lap 9 will begin, and Tropic F1 will lead us away. And it's both the XPG drivers who will lead us away. They will work together, I am sure, on this safety car restart to ensure a good outcome for their team. They're first, second, and fifth at the moment. They want McTimmy to get up there. They want to pressure Rain and George Plaster. And Tropic F1 has been sent out to the front to do just that. The safety car restart is over. Thomas gets a good start, but Rain also picks that safety car restart. Thomas pulls out to the inside line. He overtakes Tropic. So does Rain. And so he's lost 2 positions in one corner, really, as George Plaster and McTimmy swap positions. There's drivers going off behind, and is that Niall Gio who has gone off and is down into last place? I think it is. McTimmy's gotten ahead of George Plaster, who was caught off guard at the restart. All these drivers are so incredibly close together, but there's already a DRS gap between Razza Gamer and ZRT Geekin just ahead of him. Or AERO Geekin, I believe he is. Niall Gio getting past Poison Death up into P12. He's going to have to rebuild once again. But he's on the faster tyres this time, and so he should find it a little bit at least easier. As he will have DRS on Full Bicycle. Full Bicycle will have DRS on David Kupasic. Kupasic will have DRS on Quick Luca. Not anymore, because Quick Luca, something's gone wrong, because he has had issues at Ascari and he's dropped 3 positions down into P12. He's going to have to rebuild once again. Mara Moreau down the inside of Razza Gamer into the final corner. Rain is on the rear of Thomas as they head down the straight. Tropic F1 is outside of DRS range, but he's holding up the cars behind very well. Although one of those cars behind is his teammate McTimmy, so he's going to want to let him go. Indeed he does, and he's through, but so is George Plaster, who takes the opportunity. There's contact between himself and Tropic F1. As Tropic drops another position, he's down into P6 now. And the defense attempt does not pay off for Tropic and for XPG as he falls down into P6. Behind Geekin and George Plaster, who are the drivers so far who have demonstrated the pace to lead this race. Thomas, Rain, McTimmy to an extent, and George Plaster and Geekin as well. They've all demonstrated the pace that they need to win this race. Can they convert it? Tropic, who tried to hold them off, has been unable to. He's been unsuccessful. And now he's even going to come under pressure from Mara Moreau, who's in P7 now, but looking to climb up. Tropic F1's tyres are much, much older than everybody here. So it's unsurprising that he has a pace disadvantage, especially through the corners. Even though those mediums aren't quite off yet, but they're getting there as he's right behind, heading through Parabolica. And what an exit that is. Mara Moreau, who jumps up into P6. Tropic dives into the pit lane. We could be seeing another switch of positions as Niall Gio keeps one tyre on the track. And he's ahead of David Kupasic and Raza Gamer. Kupasic tries to come back, but he's defending very aggressively as Niall Gio. Full Bicycle in the meantime looks to the inside. It becomes the outside for turn 2 on Raza Gamer. They're side by side. Who gets the better exit? It looks like it's going to be Full Bicycle, who's up into P9. Gio and Kupasic are going to continue this fight. And Kupasic could be sending it down the inside, but he decides against it. Because Niall Gio does have the faster tyres. It benefits the drivers to stay behind him, just to gain the DRS, to stay in range of him. And so I'm sure they will be doing just that. He's almost within DRS of Mara Moreau within the space of about 2 corners. That's the advantage that the medium tyres are bringing Niall Gio at the moment. But David Kupasic waiting in the wings. Full Bicycle ready to pounce on any mistakes. And Quick Luke, well, he's 3 seconds off, but it says in his name he is quick. So he could catch that up any moment. Mara Moreau has been reeled in by Niall Gio. He will have DRS heading down the main straight, and it will open now. It's open. 7 tenths, 6 tenths, 5 tenths, 4. Not enough on this lap. But he will be right on the rear of him. If he's not already, he will be right on the rear of him around Curva del Seraglio, which is the second DRS, quote-unquote, straight on this circuit. But he stays behind. Kupasic and Gio are demonstrating insane pace early on in this race. We're almost at the halfway mark. I've not even noticed the time go, but we are almost at the halfway mark. And Kupasic and Gio will open up their DRS. Gio closing on Maramo. Closing on Mara Moreau. Closing. Doesn't want to go for a move into Ascari, hoping that Mara Moreau makes a mistake. Outbrakes himself. He does not. And so Gio will have another go, heading down the back straight. Tucking in behind as he feels as though a DRS overtake is a guaranteed overtake. And he will try it as they come out to the final corner onto the start-finish straight. He's already around the outside of Mara Moreau, who's given up the position. David Kupasic goes through as well. Is he even going to try and move on Gio? No, he's not. Mara Moreau holds on to P8. And now they've got 3 seconds to the leaders, built up by Mara Moreau. In that safety car restart, he just didn't have the pace to keep up with them. And it's whether they want to consolidate for P6 or whether they want to fight forward. And from the looks of things, Kupasic is happy to fight for P6, but Gio wants to close in. Whether he will have that opportunity or not is another question, but he's certainly going to try, and wobbles like that aren't going to help him because he's actually lost 6 tenths in that first 2 sectors alone. And Kupasic is going to close, but not close enough as they go through Curva de Seraglio and head out onto the back straight, which doesn't have any DRS. You can see there the leading pack on the front of your screen heading into Parabolica. These lot had barely even left Ascari. That's the difference between them at the moment. And I don't really know where Gio's pace has gone, because early on he was looking incredible. And Kupasic is going to want to take advantage of this as we see another switch for the lead. Rain goes through. McTimmy goes through. George Plaster's going to try and go through. There's contact between himself and Thomas. Geekin tries to fight back. He's side by side with George Plaster as they head onto the exit. Plaster backs out, but he could be trying to fight as they head down to turn 3, Variante della Roggia. And there is fighting almost as Thomas has a look. McTimmy with a big lockup, but they're teammates, so it's unlikely that they're going to want to fight. But Rain takes the lead of this race. But for how long? McTimmy and Thomas will be working together to try and get back up. It's going to be 5 tenths. It's going to be 4 tenths. It's going to be 3 tenths. But again, not close enough to Rain. It's going to be another... Oh, it's not going to be another main straight overtake, because round goes McTimmy. And he's dropped to P5. The commentator's curse strikes as McTimmy loses out and drops to P5. Now Gio will be interested again as George Plaster backs out of a move on Geekin into Parabolica. But he will get an incredible run on the Mercedes heading down the straight. Looking to the outside line, Geekin is going to allow him the space. And he's going to get through, but Geekin sends a huge send. How has he not outbraked himself? Plaster trying to hold on to the inside line, but just not having enough. Geekin defending perfectly and holding on to that final podium position, even compromising Plaster's exit. In the meantime, Kupasic has caught up to McTimmy's DRS. Gio's still been able to hold on to the Haas driver's coattails, and P5 could very much be heading Kupasic's way in the next couple of laps. George Plaster, in the meantime, could be chasing for P3. He will have the generous helping of DRS. So will Geekin, though. And so will Thomas, who's not going to catch Rain on this lap. McTimmy, dropping down, has scuppered the plans of XPG to fight forward. And I think now it's just going to develop into a DRS train. McTimmy is catching back up, but I think he's feeling the pressure from David Kupasic behind and Niall Gio. Mara Moreau and Full Bicycle able to keep tabs with them at the moment. Down the straight, though, Kupasic has DRS. He has the fastest lap of the Grand Prix now with a 1:20.8. For reference, that's one of the fastest laps we've seen this weekend. Only a second or so off of some of the mid-table lap times in qualifying. I don't quite remember them, and I don't have a reference sheet to point you to exactly where that would have been. But it wouldn't have been too bad. Straight line. As who's that who's gone around? That's Full Bicycle, who's struggling to get going again. And I just said that he was keeping tabs with these threes. Not anymore. But 3 becomes 4 as McTimmy has been reeled in. And Kupasic needs this move done as soon as he physically can. There's yellow flag still out, but I think that may be a visual glitch, as Kupasic will have DRS. He's not been this close. Is he going to get the move done? No, he's not. It's going to be another main straight overtake again, as you can see with that brilliant aerial shot that Gio closed on Kupasic on that lap. We have our second retirement of the race. This is a forced one, or this is an unforced one, as Quick Luca came into the pits and ended his weekend. You could consider it a weekend. It is Sunday, so we are going to consider it a weekend. There could be fighting for the lead of this race as Thomas pulls out to the inside line on Rain. He takes the lead. Geekin staying just behind, and Rain drops, but his teammate climbs up. Kupasic is through on McTimmy. There's contact. And there's contact once again as Gio gets tangled up with first McTimmy and then Mara Moreau. But he's holding on to that P6 spot that he's just gained now. And McTimmy's afternoon or evening gets from bad to worse, as he's in P8 now. He was at one point fighting for the lead or the win of this race. In P4, he drops to P8 after 2 separate incidents, which is disappointing for the Williams. Full Bicycle has another issue, which sees him fall, ironically, down to P12. Mara Moreau has gotten past Niall Gio in the meantime. They've almost dropped out of DRS of David Kupasic. This is the sort of lap, as David Kupasic has an issue through Ascari. He drops behind Mara Moreau. He could drop behind Gio as they head down this back straight. Indeed, he does. He tucks in. We've got fighting in the meantime up ahead, as Gio is coming under pressure again from Kupasic. Down the straight, they're all going to have DRS, barring Mara Moreau, and this could be another switch for P5. But it's a switch for the lead of the race. For Rain, he's ahead of Thomas. Geekin and Plaster hold position, hold fire. Gio is in P5. Mara Moreau's in P6, and Kupasic drops to P7. These three are doing the fighting for P5 at the moment. And the top 4, I haven't actually paid enough notice to this battle, because I said just a few laps ago it was going to be a DRS train. It's a bit more than that now, because the last 2 laps they have gone pretty much 3 wide at some point, various points down the straight, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see that again on this occasion. DRS is open for them all, but it's just not a long enough straight. Or, well, it's not straight in the first place, it's Curva del Soriglio. But it's not a long enough straight for DRS to really take its full effect. Geekin, though, getting an incredible exit out of Ascari. He's attacking Thomas around the outside into Parabolica. Just trying to force Thomas into a mistake. But it could have been a mistake for Geekin himself, as he's got plastered all over his rear wing now. He's right behind him. They've all opened DRS. Thomas to the outside of turn 1. Geekin and Plaster side by side behind. It looks like Rain's boxed in Plaster, but Geekin stays ahead in P3. These drivers are fighting so incredibly hard for the lead of this race. We've got 8 laps to go, and I still can't call it. Plaster to the inside of Geekin. Geekin braking late, and Plaster just allowing him it, trying to force a mistake. Trying to force a poor exit from the Mercedes. And he almost got exactly what he desired. But he sort of ruined his own exit in the meantime. He compromised it, certainly, by braking much later and taking an awkward line. This, though, could be the run that he needs. But it isn't. Could it be the run here as Geekin struggles through Ascari? Plaster to the outside. Geekin allows him the space. It's a drag race up to Parabolica, and Plaster switches to the inside line, still trying to force a mistake out of the Mercedes man, but back onto the main straight. DRS will be available once again for Rain, Geekin and Plaster, and Rain is using it to full effect, taking the lead of this race. Thomas is trying to stay behind as Rain is trying to break the toe, but none of them are close enough for that fight, for that battle into turn 1. Lap 20 of 27 here. Proceedings are almost done. We are 3 quarters through the race now. If I can do my mental maths correctly, I believe we're 3 quarters through the race now, as Thomas with a big wobble on the exit. Geekin's not close enough to take advantage, but it does mean that the pressure is completely taken off Rain, even though Thomas was able to stay within DRS range. Yellow flags out once again. That looks like it's Poison Death or Raza Gamer, one of the Aston Martins who's gone round. Is it? Let's have a look. It wasn't. It was McTimmy. Clearly. Sorry about that. Clearly, my colour correction is poor, and that looked intentional. But McTimmy becomes the latest retirement in this race, and a virtual safety car is called out. And I'm glad that Niall Gio and Razagamer are not on the same team as McTimmy, because otherwise it would have looked very, very suspicious. Although he did just run off onto the gravel, and you can just lose grip on the gravel. But is Gio going to come into... They're all going to come into the pits. They're all pitting on this lap. Once again, a virtual safety car this time. Gives them the opportunity of a lifetime. And soft compound tyres are on for Thomas, for Geekin, for Rain, for George Plaster, for Kupasic. They're all going onto him. Kupasic gets held up ever so slightly because of Rain's pit stop. But other than that, he's out all right. He's out behind Gio, actually. Tropic F1 YT picks up 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. That's his only penalty, and that will come as a crushing blow, as we're probably going to get going around lap 24. We'll only have about 3 laps to go, and so penalties are crucial. It's crucial you get rid of them, really, and Poison Death is going to serve 5 seconds here. I wouldn't be surprised if Razagamer had. He has not, but I wouldn't have been surprised if the game had forced him to. This is the time, though, for Poison Death to serve those penalties. He hasn't, which is an interesting call. You mustn't be able to do it under the safety car. But Rain leads this race. Thomas is in second place. Geekin is in third, and George Plaster is in fourth. This has been the lead pack for pretty much the entire race. Niall Gio, who began this race on the last row of the grid. He tried to go for the alternative strategy, hards to mediums. That was scuppered when on lap 6 everybody came in for either from mediums to hards or hards to mediums. He was forced onto the mediums. He did 13 laps on them to great success. And now he will have the opportunity to fight for the win. If anybody deserves this win, it is Niall Gio today, although that's a bit harsh, actually, to the top 4 who have fought their way through this race. These 4 have just been consistent. As who's that? I don't know who Thomas is trying to tempt into the pits. But anyway. Just trying to make sure that we get enough viewers as we can for this stream and for the final few laps of this race. Tropic F1 YT has come into the pits quite wisely to serve that penalty. He will be on the mediums, and if we've learned anything from Lobby 1, the mediums actually have ended up better than the soft compound tyre even. So Tropic F1 could be at an advantage if the track evolution is the same as it is in Lobby 1. Then things could get very interesting. I'm just trying to get everybody in. There we go. Rain is going to lead us away this time. It's not going to be Thomas or Thomas's teammate Tropic F1 YT, who's actually last on this safety car reset, and I think he's going to force another lap for everybody to go on because he's 20 seconds behind. I don't think he's going to catch up before they head through Parabolica, which is pretty much the final time where they can signal that they're going to come into the pits. He might catch it, actually. He's caught 6 seconds in the last couple of corners, as that is the announcement that Lobby 2 is live. I can indeed show the tyres. Well, everybody's on the same tyres, apart from Tropic F1, who sits in last place at the moment. He hasn't quite caught up in time, and so we are going to go for one more circuit behind Bert Mylander under the safety car. It's the Aston Martin this week. It's been the Mercedes the last couple of weeks, but this time they decided to switch it up. The Aston Martin, the car I've seen actually in real life, is driving around, and it was a great honour to see it when I did. But that's not the important part. The important part is the actual race itself. And if you're in the chat, make your predictions. Who is going to win this race? I personally have Niall Gio. He's who I've got for the victory today. But any of the top 4 that have been fighting hammer and tongs all race long for this victory could take it. And I certainly wouldn't be too surprised and certainly wouldn't be too disappointed either. We will inevitably get that call for the safety car coming in around Ascari. Lando is unfortunately not racing in this race, as the safety car comes in on this lap, as I predicted, and rain will get us away. Last time Thomas was helping Tropic, was actually helping Thomas get ahead. This time we've got Rain, who's going to lead us away. Now, Rain's teammate is currently in P3. It is that of Geekin. And I don't know who the other 2 are, but they are in this race, I'm sure. But we're going to get going. Rain sets us off for the safety car restart. And DLR FP1 Thomas takes the opportunity to get past him. He almost nailed the restart better than Rain himself. But Rain's going to come back around the outside. They're side by side. Thomas allows him the space. There's contact between Thomas and Geekin. But Rain is back up into the lead of this race. Thomas just about allows Geekin space on the outside. And they're almost going to be 3 wide as they head now into turn 3. But it looks like they're just going to tuck in. Rain leading ahead of Thomas and Geekin in 3rd. So it's as you were. But it's certainly not the way that it possibly could have gone. They could have all switched very, very easily. And I'm sure they will switch very, very easily, as Thomas is going to look to close on Rain down this straight, or down Curva de Seraglio. But I'm going to count it as a straight. Gio is close to the rear of Geekin as Tropic F1 makes a move on both of Kupasic and Poison Death. There's contact between Kupasic and Poison Death. I think there's contact and damage for the front wing of the Haas, which is terrible news for him. But it becomes a Haas sandwich as Rain takes the lead. Thomas puts the power down in the exit. George Plaster is trying to find a gap somewhere. That gap is ahead of Rain, and it's alongside Thomas. They're side by side into turn 1. They're 3 wide into turn 1. 3 wide. Thomas is beaten out by Plaster, who takes the lead. Rain in 2nd place. Gio in the meantime takes advantage of Thomas falling down. There's contact between Mara Moreau, Thomas and Geekin, who's dropped down positions. Razza Game is involved as well, but it's side by side for the lead. Rain's going to go down the inside. He's going to back out of the move on George Plaster, but it's still side by side for the position behind Mara Moreau. And Niall Gio is side by side, 3 wide behind. Ends in disaster for, I think that was Geekin, who's lost a bit of his front wing. But 3 wide into Variante della Roggia does not go, as has been discovered by Thomas Razagamer and ZRT Geekin. And they're struggling now, as that is almost Niall Gio going for a move on Mara Moreau. Mara Moreau defending quite desperately for that P3. But Gio gets the run out of Ascari, and he takes P3 as they head down the back straight and onto the main one. It's the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix, and George Plaster has taken the lead of it ahead of Rain. Gio is just behind them, but they've all got DRS all the way down until Poison Death, and Thomas gets ahead of Mara Moreau. Rain gets ahead of George Plaster, and that's a huge send from Thomas, making contact with Niall Gio. Mara Moreau trying to find a way around. In the meantime, he can't. But Thomas making contact with Gio. I'm hoping there's no damage for either of those drivers. But Plaster closing in on Rain once again, but not enough to pass. He will look to regroup because he lost the lead using DRS down the main straight. We have one more circuit of this track, one more full circuit, and one more use of the DRS down the main straight. This is where he can take the lead if he feels like that is the right time, but I don't think he does. Gio trying to look around the outside of Plaster, not finding the gap, but he could get the run on the exit. He did the same on Maramaro the lap before. Plaster is more of a match for him, and it looks like they're just going to stay where they are for the time being, but DRS down the main straight could see them change. An exit off of Parabolica of dreams for Plaster could see all of it change as he's alongside Rain. He's ahead of Rain. Gio gets involved, and so does Thomas. They're 3 wide into turn 1. That's Gio that's backed out. Rain and Thomas side by side. Contact. Contact again. Almost a half spin from Rain, and Gio's going to look to take advantage. Not quite getting the exit that he wanted. And Thomas gets up into P2. Rain wants that position back, and he switches to the inside. Thomas can do no more as he sends it down the inside. The Haas driver is up into P2 once again. Gio and Maramaro waiting in the wings for something to go wrong, because these two have made contact on multiple occasions, and they're fighting so ferociously. DRS will be open one final time this race, and it could come as a blessing for Gio, who looks to take that final podium position. Down the inside into Ascari, he backs out, trying to force a mistake late on in this race from Thomas. He's not going to, but Thomas picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's his battle for the podium over as Gio takes P3. Thomas trying to fight back, and he spins Gio, just trying to squeeze him to the inside, and that's the Alpine's run for the podium over. But George Plaster is across the line to win. Rain in second, Maramaro picking up that final podium position. Geekin in 4th, Gio recovering to 5th, Tropic in 6th, Razza Gamer in 7th. Poison, Death, and Full Bicycle will come across the line in 8th and 9th. And Thomas will not be finishing this race. He will be classified, but he will not finish this race. I believe he picks up P10. Maramaro picks up driver of the day for a 3rd place. Well, despite the fact he drove well in that race, it was an incredibly lucky race for him to pick up P3, because the battle for P3 went down to the wire, down to the final corner, and Gio and Thomas made contact. And we will leave it up to the stewards to decide the finishing order for that race. But as of right now, that is victory for the Red Bull of George Plaster. And therefore, that is victory for HDL. Rain taking 2nd place for AERO. 3rd place goes to Maramaro for HDL as well. So it's a double podium for HDL. Then it's Geekin, Gio, Tropic, Razagamer, Poison Death, Full Bicycle, and Thomas rounds out the points with David Kupasic, Muktimmy, Quick Luca, and Penguin rounding out the grid. And that's 14 drivers. That was 27 laps. That was 2 safety cars and only 1 winner. In the end, we saw some incredible battling, but George Plaster stayed calm, and he stayed ahead of it in the end as it got a bit scrappy on that final lap between Rain, between Gio, between Thomas, and between Maramaro. But Maramaro basically being able to head through to take victory. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to our sponsor, Rogue Energy, for sponsoring this race. And we'll see you again on Tuesday, I believe, is the next race. It's gone out of my head. I don't know how. Yeah, it is Tuesday. I was right. Join us on Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Tier 1. But for now, goodbye.
Humans, what have you learned? I was programmed to beat you.